Hello, winning season family. I'm Jacqueline Twillie. I'm your host, and this is the podcast where we talk about the win in any season. Today's episode is we have a fantastic guest who's going to shed insight into her career. Alair, welcome to the Winning Season podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much.
I'm very excited to finally get you on the podcast. Before I jump into questions, let's zoom out. Give us a view of who you are as a professional and outside of professional life.
Sure. So, like you said, my name is Alair Castro. For work, I am a director of diversity and inclusion strategy and marketing for Northwestern Mutual, and I am based in Atlanta. In addition to being a diversity leader, I am also the founder of a marketing consultancy firm that I just recently launched called the
Congrats.
AC Consultancy. Thank you. Outside of that, I'm a mother to two young children. I'm also a wife and advocate for all things Black women. So, Black women are my best friend. They are my everything. And my career is a love letter to them.
I love that. Let's jump into your career through line because you do have this really strong mission across Northwestern Mutual, the AC Consultancy, and your advisory work. What single mission ties every move together?
The through line for me is always going to be the racial wealth gap. I'm very passionate about that, whether that is in the finance space and encouraging the Black community to come into financial planning either as an advisor or as a client. That could also be in the marketing space and partnering with businesses who are purpose driven and just talking to them about economic empowerment and market opportunities. Or that could be in the DEI space and getting people to think differently about different markets and how to connect with them in a more intimate way. So, always in relation to the racial wealth gap.
And let's take a step back. Can you share with Winning Season community what sparked this deep passion within you?
I, like a lot of people, saw the unrest that unfolded after George Floyd's, and I wanted to find a way where I could use my skills and contribute to furthering the conversation and creating equity for Black professionals in the corporate room and entrepreneurship in my local community. And being in the financial services industry, the best way that I could do that is by introducing them to financial planning and encouraging them to consider the role of becoming a financial advisor. So I started doing that work voluntarily. And within my office, I advocated for the creation of a full-time role dedicated to D&I work. And the owner of my office, our managing partner, gave me the green light to move forward with that. So I am the first D&I full-time leader in a field office for Northwestern Mutual.
This is such a powerful story of advocacy, of resilience, and negotiation skills. I think it might help also for our listeners to understand what the racial wealth gap is because not many people are familiar with the concept. So if you can just give us high level of what that is.
Sure. So the racial wealth gap discusses the lack of wealth or assets within the Black community. Specifically, I tend to focus on the white to Black racial wealth gap within America. It is a phenomenon that also affects other diverse communities, such as Hispanic, such as AAPI. However, my niche really focuses on how it impacts the Black community. And
Got
what
it.
that means is, for every dollar that a white family has, or every piece of wealth or asset that a white family has, a Black family lacks pennies on the dollar or has pennies on the dollar compared to that. So, what I try to do is create opportunities to generate wealth within the Black community, or at the very least, generate awareness about these topics.
That is a powerful movement economically. One, education and awareness, as you said. You go even further and you provide resources and tools to actualize that. Let's jump into winning buy-in, because as you've already said, you created a role for yourself and you're creating opportunities for others. What's your first bridge building step when a leadership team is curious but cautious about a bold inclusion plan?
Within my role, a lot of the work that I do is garnering buy-in from different stakeholders and different leaders for various initiatives. My first step to gaining buy-in is uncovering the leaders' why. What are their motivations? And ideally, I find that out before I present an idea or topic to them. And that could be anything from sales, impact, their own personal career goals. If the leader is motivated by sales, I tend to talk to them about market opportunity of whatever the initiative is that I'm presenting. If the leader is motivated by impact, I talk a lot about community and how the initiative affects the community in which the business sits in. If the leader is motivated by their own career goals, then I'll talk a lot about legacy and how my plan or initiative fuels their legacy. So it just depends on what the motivating factor is. A lot of times I'm talking to a bench of leaders, so I have to touch on each of those a little bit and then hone in as needed.
That's a strategic approach for bridge building. I also know that you are a fact first leader. So, when it comes to leadership and leading with facts, what metric has convinced the most skeptics that inclusive marketing is a smart business move?
The metric that convinces people that inclusive marketing is a smart business move is hands down market opportunity. While there are some companies who feel the need to sort of pull back in efforts to protect their reputation and just not to be too political, a lot of times businesses are focused on driving their business goals. And if you can connect what it is that you want to do or the people that you want to help to how it's going to drive their business goals, then you can get a win. So in my efforts within the D&I space, I always connect what I'm doing back to business goals.
So, when we're talking about culturally nuanced marketing campaigns, can you walk us through a campaign where cultural insight unlocked a surprising return on investment?
When I started in my D&I role, I began with initiatives that were events powered by cultural insight. Our brand didn't always resonate within the Black community, and we wanted to improve upon that. So, one of the things that I did was create these small scale roundtable dinners to build trust within the Black community. Historically, the Black community has not always trusted the finance industry, the financial services industry. We historically are not comfortable talking about money, especially talking to strangers about money. We're very cautious about those things. So I created an environment in which people could let their guard down and have a open and honest conversation about wealth, our relationship with money, and just ways that we can dispel myths within diverse communities. As a result of that effort, we were able to expand our network of contacts exponentially. So, this framework is a framework that I still use today. And I'm a firm believer that intimacy helps build trust in spaces where businesses and brands can't connect.
We're bringing in new voices. We're being more inclusive. And as a result, we're driving up the bottom line of the business. You mentioned that for some of the stakeholders, that's a really important aspect of understanding what inclusion means. I want to switch gears and talk about marketing mastery and that measurement piece. If we go beyond clicks and impressions, what success indicators matter most when servicing a multicultural audience?
Brand awareness and relationship currency for sure. If the culture in which you are targeting is clear on who you are as a brand or business and what it is that you have to offer, that's a huge win. Additionally, just being able to call on trusted leaders within that target community is a win as well. I like the strategy of long-term relationships, keeping them abreast of whatever it is that you're working on and talk through how it relates to the culture of that community. That's where the magic happens.
Agree with you. That's been a through line of my career is not focusing on a short-term transaction, but really building that genuine, authentic relationship, which sometimes takes years. And you really need to be in an environment and at a company that respects that you're not trying to do a quick bait and switch. You're genuinely working towards a larger mission. Let's talk about progress over paralysis. So, putting on your AC Consultancy hat, because I know you work with many businesses, when a brand freezes over getting it perfect, how do you keep the momentum without compromising your authenticity or the project's authenticity?
I worked in the startup space with tech startups. And one of the things that I picked up from that experience, it came from a book called The Lean Startup.
Yes.
And it's
Love
a
that book.
book, yes, it's one of my favorite. But in that book, they talk about this cyclical framework that is build, measure, learn. And it also talks about putting out your MVP or your minimum viable product. These are frameworks that I have adopted into whatever industry and whatever career that I'm in. So, what that looks like is getting down the meat and potatoes of what it is that you're trying to do, put it out there, release it, track it, gather data, and then iterate and do it again. The dinners that I mentioned earlier, I also applied that same framework as well. And over the years, I've iterated a little bit more each time from everything that I've learned. So I find that when you are stuck in analysis paralysis, if you adopt a lean and iterative mindset, that can serve as a great remedy for getting out of your head and not getting stuck in perfectionism.
That's the proof point to remain authentic. One of the things that I know you do is you're coaching leaders on how to close their own wealth gaps. So let's dig into your personal wealth playbook for a minute. What's one habit you tell any professional to adapt this week?
It's timely that you're asking that because we're very close to Black Women Equal Pay Day.
Yep.
And one of the things that I've been focusing on is encouraging people to monetize their genius. So that could be a side hustle, that could be consulting like me, that could be starting an entirely separate business. But having multiple streams of income is key and going to be the catalyst for growing your wealth. While it is important to, if you are in a 9 to 5, grow within that space and negotiate and advocate for your value there, it's also important outside of that 9 to 5 to have additional streams of income.
Yeah. I love that you brought this up and we're tying in multiple aspects. So, in terms of building wealth, what I'm hearing you say is that we have to diversify our streams of income. And if there is one habit that we can begin to build today, would you say that that is the mindset aspect of thinking beyond the 9 to 5?
Absolutely. I have always unintentionally been someone who had a 9 to 5 and also had other streams of income going on. And I think that that framework is really important, especially for women to create security for themselves because with everything going on in the world, we don't know how business is going to be. Things will be up and down, the economy will be up and down. So you want to have different levers that you can pull on to make sure you are getting your bag and you're growing your bag.
Period. Mic drop. Mic drop. Let's talk a little bit about boundary savvy balance. How has protecting family unplugged time sharpened your strategic thinking on the job?
If I don't get unplugged time with my family, I don't eat well, I don't sleep well, I'm anxious at work the next day. I am creating out of a space of desperation and survival, and none of those things are good things. So it is key for me to have unplugged family time. as it fuels me and it allows me to operate in a flow state the next day. It leads to richer, more meaningful ideas, connecting to my purpose and my calling on my life. And it just helps me show up better, whether that's at work, as a wife, or as a mom. So it's key. At like 4:30, my phone goes off and that's it. No more work for the day.
One of the things I know that leaders struggle with is communicating that unplugged time because a lot of people are expecting to be always on. I recently read on LinkedIn that people are now working an endless workday, meaning they might stop at 5 and then they're starting meetings again at 9 p.m. You set some really healthy boundaries. How do you communicate that to others?
There's multiple ways you can do that. I think that calendar blocking is key. Out of offices are key.
Absolutely.
Verbally communicating, even because there will come times where people try to push against your boundaries and say, oh, well, can you do this? Can you do that just this one time? And you got to learn to put your foot down. It's about taking ownership and authority over the life that you're living and commanding that respect of your time and reclaiming your time back for sure.
Let's talk about turning conflict into collaborations. Share a moment when there is a deliberate pause that turned tension into a collaborative breakthrough in your work.
Sure. So, as a Black woman that is also a diversity leader, I have had to stretch myself and really grow in emotional intelligence, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yes.
That for me typically looks like pausing for 24 hours before I reply to a statement or a question that on its surface seems very biased or discriminatory. So typically for me, this is an email form, while this can happen verbally as well. And I definitely recommend pausing in that space. But in the context of an email or a message, I will pause for 24 hours and think through what exactly was said to me, what the context was, and try to uncover the why behind the what, and also to just sleep on it and give myself time to get out of my emotions. When I come back the next day to reply, I'm replying from a space of curiosity and getting to the root of the statement or the question. And that has helped me grow my leadership skills exponentially.
You have hit the nail on the head. One of the most underrated leadership skills that I've observed over the years is that ability to tap into curiosity. As leaders, we're wired to execute and be solution oriented, and a lot of people have built that as a strong muscle. Along with that, when you pair a curiosity muscle into that, it elevates your leadership to the next level. I'm so glad you shared that, y'all. Alair just gave us some cheat code real quick. So, before we get into our rapid fire, I want to dig back into your toolkit. Can you give us one marketing rule and one money rule that every aspiring change maker should pin to their desk tomorrow?
Marketing rule: fall in love with the market or community that you're targeting because they can tell when you don't. And a money rule: understanding generational wealth is more than just dollars. It's opportunity, it's health, it's mindset. And sometimes all you can do is make sure that no one else has to take care of you when you get older. And that's enough.
On. That is two tips to pin to your desk tomorrow. You have a marketing and a money rule right there. Let's jump into a little bit of fun, Alair, and let's do a quick rapid fire round. When you have downtime, are you jumping into a juicy audiobook or are you watching a TV series?
Definitely an audiobook or even a podcast. I'm a commuter, so a lot of my free time is spent learning, whether it's personal development or professional development, reading, audiobooks, listening to podcasts for sure.
And I know you're a public speaker. So when you're on the stage, what is your go-to shoe? Are you going for a pump or for a flat?
Definitely a heel. I can sort of read short on camera sometimes. And also, this is just a tip to help like boost your confidence. I will put heels on to feel like the baddest chick in the room, and that helps me speak a lot more confidently as well.
Listen, I am known for if I have a high stakes at home meeting, pulling out the Louboutins and wearing them in the living room.
Yes. Or a red lip also does the same thing.
Now, when you talk about red lip, have you tried the rich auntie from the lip bar?
I have not.
Girl, thank me later. Thank me
Ooh.
later.
Okay.
The red lip, it's called Rich Auntie from the Lip Bar. I have two, one in my travel bag and one at home.
I know that's right. I'm definitely going to check them out.
Okay, so you kind of jumped the gun. You didn't even know my questions. I was going to ask what your go-to lip was. What's your go-to snack? Are you sweet or are you savory?
Definitely savory. I'm a charcuterie board girl. I need a glass of wine or champagne and a charcuterie board. And I instantly feel like I'm at a fancy bar or cafe. That's my jam.
I could talk to you for hours. You have given us so much insight that we can apply real time. Can you share with the winning season community how they can reach you?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm Alair Castro on LinkedIn. On Instagram, I am AC out of the office. And my website, theacconsultancy.com.
Connect with Alair. You can go to the show notes of this episode. It'll take you straight to her LinkedIn, to her IG, and bookmark the website. And she's launching an email list. So you can soon subscribe to her email list so you can get your money move and marketing move all in one place. Alair, thank you so much for joining the Winning Season podcast. Before we go, y'all, I have to give a shout out to our episode sponsor, which is the Resilient Leaders Program at zerogap.co. Until next time, y'all continue to emulate excellence and eliminate excuses.